Hello, welcome to this edition of Momentum. I'm your host, Robert Green. Today I'm joined by Dr. Rani Sullivan. Dr. Sullivan is professor and head of our Department of Aerospace Engineering, and she also holds the Carolyn and Bill Cobb Chair. Dr. Sullivan, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, I want to start with some personal things about you to give us an idea of who you are. First, how did you choose to get interested, or where did your interest in aerospace engineering come from?
You know, preparing for this allowed me to really reflect, and I wanted to go back about what's my first memory of this, what is the first connection to aerospace. And I realized it's when my father left India, and my grandfather would go out into our courtyard and point upward at every aircraft that went by and said, "There goes the here." So I'm 6 years old. And I am hearing this, so there's this connection between aircraft and my dad from early on, and missing him and everything. So I'm not saying that that's where I decided it was going to be aerospace, not at all. It did not occur to me. But my father, I would say, encouraged all of us in the sciences. And when it came my turn, I selected aerospace engineering simply because it seemed to me the most interesting. So at that time, I didn't realize the potential of the field. I was just sure that it was going to be interesting and I was not going to be bored. And I was proven true on that score, yes.
True, yeah. And of course, your father was a professor here in aerospace engineering.
Correct.
So how did you come to choose Mississippi State University for your education, as well as your career?
That pretty much chose me as well, again, for personal reasons. I met a local guy all the way from Sturgis, Mississippi, Tommy Sullivan. And when we married, he had an excellent position. And so it was in our best interest to stay here because we had a naturally built support system for our children, with my mom and dad being here, and then Tommy having a great position. It allowed me to attend an excellent program at an amazing university. And then, surprisingly, I get a job as an aerospace engineer as soon after graduation as you could possibly want. So I graduate with my bachelor's in aerospace engineering in '89. Raspet Flight Lab had the Honda project.
Okay, yeah.
All right. I was one of 3 engineers that was hired on that project. And what an experience that was, because it was an experience that allowed me to be an engineer in an environment that included faculty and staff and students, technicians, but also industry, because we were dealing with an international company, the Honda company, in their development of the first all-composite business jet. So it allowed this amazing global experience. And it enabled me to realize how many different facets there are when you are working such a large project, especially an aerospace project, as we were doing. There are the technical sides, but there's also the non-technical sides that you have to be aware of.
Yeah. So when did you decide to go to graduate school?
That was a foregone conclusion.
Okay.
You weren't going to be in my family and my father's child and not consider that while you were at Mississippi State. And that is just a perk of being part of the university system. So while I'm also working as a full-time engineer on the Honda project, I'm also going and taking graduate level courses, and before I know it, I have my master's in a completely different field, non-destructive evaluation of composites. And then I just persist and move on and keep taking courses. And before I know it, I am very close to finishing up my doctorate.
And of course you did, and professor, and now head of the department. Well,
that's right.
So we owe all of this to Tommy.
That's right. He kept me here.
Yeah. Well, we've just celebrated the 90th anniversary of the Aerospace Engineering Department.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the Honda project, which was a major project we had here in the department and the college. What were some of the other major accomplishments during your time, or I guess during the 90 years of the department?
Well, it actually did start from Gus Raspet wanting to do research. He brought research in the field of aeronautics to Mississippi State, and actually to the state of Mississippi. So that's where it began, and particularly in the area of aerodynamics or boundary layer control. And from there, it's just been a steady innovation. So then came the first all-composite aircraft, the Marvel, in the mid-60s, right? And then the Honda Jet, which was actually, the Marvel was a precursor. And when the Japanese found out about that project, then they came to us, and the Honda project began. Other developments that have happened in the department have been, okay, so RASPET is the experimental end, side.
Right.
But on the computational side, you had the creation of the National Science Foundation Engineering Research Center for computational fluid dynamics.
Right, yeah.
You also had MHD, the MHD Center, which is now ICE-T. Again, sensor development, new technologies, 3 major research centers coming out of one department. So you can see the innovation that exists in the field of aerospace engineering.
Yeah, and of course I got my start with the MHD, the Magnetohydrodynamics Energy Center, yeah.
Yes.
So some great things have come out of the
Yes.
department. Well, over the decades, the aerospace industry has had its ups and its downs. What do you see for the future of the industry?
The future is very bright. It's really an incredible time to be an aerospace engineer. I mean, you think about space exploration, right? Space tourism is a thing now. I think this is allowing boys and girls to dream of that being an astronaut can be a reality. And of course, with all of this comes tremendous innovation in mobility and transportation. Whatever is done in aerospace, we push the boundaries of technologies. It is not long before it's actually life on Earth that benefits. All of these technologies, such as wireless technology, touchless, ever used a GPS, that wonderful shock-absorbing material in your athletic shoes. These are space exploration missions and programs in which these type of technologies became necessities, and thus they were developed. So it impacted life on Earth.
Yeah. Well, you clearly love what you do,
Yeah.
and that's important for a job, but you also have to make a living. So for parents and prospective students out there who are interested, can you tell us about some of the jobs that are available to aerospace engineers? I think you touched on it a little bit, just talking about the variety of research that has gone on in the department. So surely there's that variety in employment as well.
Absolutely. So the big picture, what an aerospace engineer does is they are designing, they're developing and implementing different type of vehicles and their technologies. And specifically for aerospace engineers, it has to do with aircraft and spacecraft. Those are mighty big umbrellas. Take what you want from there. You can become that astronaut or pilot. Or you can work as we have, as I've done, in the field of advanced composite materials. So there I went into not only the materials, but also the testing of those materials. Not only the testing, but the manufacturing technologies, the different processes that exist. So it is just a veritable smorgasbord of engineering positions, projects that you can be a part of.
Yeah. Well, you obviously had a strong influence in your life, your father as well.
Right.
But of course, we're suffering from, we really need more women in engineering.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of them right now. We need to have some more. What advice would you have for some young women out there who are considering a career in engineering in general, or aerospace engineering in particular?
Yeah. So there have been a number of projects that we have looked at. And you know, we must consider our economic situation as well. We are where we are lacking in STEM professionals, and actually getting to where it's becoming a real shortage. And there's half the population that are women, very smart women that can actually be pulled in to address this issue. So for women, I would tell them that, particularly in aerospace engineering, which is a very systems type of engineering that, as we have discussed, it is heavily multidisciplinary, and it is actually very women-oriented in the sense that it requires a very collaborative environment, and it requires multitasking, which are very welcome to and very women-oriented. These are natural abilities. So I would tell women that do not discount this field. In fact, consider the field of engineering and aerospace engineering, and do not let previous established role models deter you from considering the many other careers that are available to you and that for which you have talent.
Yeah. I guess a little known fact about your department is aerospace engineering, I guess back then aeronautical engineering, was the first engineering program in the state to admit a female. That's and correct. The first in the state to graduate a female in engineering.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we've got about a minute and a half or so left. Can you tell us real quickly some of the competition teams that you have in your department and how students might get involved in those?
Absolutely. So there are three major competition teams. One is the Space Cowboys. That is the high-performance rocketry team. They build a test article every year and go to competition. So basically, all three of these act as if they are a small business that have elements of every single successful business in them. We have Team Exhibitor, which is the unmanned aerial systems. Again, they build from the ground up a test article and they go to competition on an annual basis. Then we have CubeSat, who are trying to launch the very first CubeSat from the state of Mississippi. Now that is a long-term project. It's not an annual thing. You have to build up to that. All they have to do is go to our website, and we have lots of information available to contact the advisors of those teams as well as the team leadership.
Well, thank you for that, and congratulations on your 90 years, and I wish you the best in the next 90. So thank you for taking the time and joining us today, Dr. Sullivan.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you all for joining us on this edition of Momentum, and I look forward to seeing you next time.